Good afternoon and welcome to the Noble Capital Markets Virtual Equity Conference. I am Joe Gomes, Managing Director and Senior Analyst at Noble Capital. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Anterix. Following the presentation, we will have some time for Q&A. Anterix works with leading utilities and technology companies to harness the power of 900 megahertz broadband for modernized grid solutions. The company offers utility-first solutions to modernize the grid and solve the challenges that utilities are facing today. The company is the largest holder of licensed spectrum in the 900 megahertz band throughout the contiguous U.S., Hawaii, Alaska, and Puerto Rico. The company is uniquely positioned to enable private LTE solutions that support cutting-edge advanced communications capabilities for a cleaner, safer, and more secure energy future. With us today from the company is Tim Gray, Chief Financial Officer. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the company. The floor is yours, Tim.
Thanks, Joe. And I wanted to say thank you to you and the Noble team for having us here today. We really appreciate being able to be a part of today's conference. Before we begin, please note our safe harbor statement. For more information, please refer to our risk factors in our most recent SEC filings. So Anterix delivers scalable, secure solutions through private wireless broadband, enabling utilities to modernize their infrastructure, streamline operations, and ensure long-term resilience. Our solutions enhance resilience, allowing utilities to adapt to modern challenges, from cybersecurity threats to extreme weather, while ensuring the reliable, secure, and efficient operation of critical infrastructure. At the core is our 900 megahertz spectrum asset, which we bought from Sprint in 2014 for $100 million. We received FCC approval in May 2020 to provide broadband at 900 megahertz. To date, we've signed contracts with 7 utility customers, totaling over $375 million in contracted proceeds. These utilities are leading the 900 megahertz private wireless network revolution throughout our country, spanning 15 states. Private network deployments across these 7 utilities will collectively be larger in scale than any other non-nationwide wireless carrier, extending broadband facilities into some of the most rural areas of the country. We've also built an unmatched device and vendor ecosystem of 115 plus solutions providers, where we are driving 900 megahertz solutions as channel partners. Our business model is based on responding to a growing demand for private LTE in support of a national effort to modernize our aged electric grid. A modernized grid requires modernized communications. As utilities increasingly need to monitor and control devices on the grid, extending all the way to the electricity customer, they are focused on wireless communication systems as the most economical and highest performing option to connect those devices. Running fiber to every home and every device on the grid is neither economically feasible nor achievable in the desired short time frame. With the adoption of a private wireless network, our customers are able to own, build to suit, and have proprietary control of their mission-critical communications and operations, meeting the data demands of today and future-proofed for tomorrow. Utility projections for the amount of power have grown significantly. It is all putting new pressures on an overtaxed grid, the network of transmission lines and power stations that move electricity around the country. As the population grows and sources of power generation evolve, utilities must shift out of traditional thinking and scale with digital transformation. With the growth of sustainable resources like solar and wind, there is now variability in power generation as well as in consumption. For this reason, power utilities managing the grid must be able to constantly monitor and seamlessly control both the generated and consumed loads with the help of millions of sensors, devices, and monitoring equipment spread across the utility's footprint. All of these use cases support the growing demand for a private wireless network, or private LTE. As a result of implementing this technology, utilities can increase security, reliability, and resiliency of power transmission and distribution, consolidate disparate communications networks, digitize and automate processes using IoT and sensors, provide a broadband backbone for real-time remote asset monitoring, update aging mission-critical push-to-talk solutions with ones based on cellular standards, and ensure better control over their own financial destiny by selectively moving from an OpEx model to a CapEx model. This is where Anterix plays a critical role. Licensed spectrum is the foundational element to build private and secure wireless networks. Our 900 megahertz spectrum is low band, which has significant performance advantages and is a scarce asset. And it's all been assigned by the FCC and it can't be reproduced. Low band means under 1 gigahertz, which based on the laws of physics can travel greater distances and better penetrate obstacles like walls than spectrum at higher bands. This translates into needing a fraction of the number of cell sites to cover comparable areas than would be required by higher bands of spectrum. The result is substantial capital and operating cost advantages inherent in low band spectrum. With this spectrum offering, combined with our experienced team and the ecosystem we have created, we are able to supply a solution tailored specifically to utility needs. Taking a look at our pipeline, we have a robust pipeline of 60 plus customers, predominantly made up of IOUs, presently valued at roughly $3 billion. They cover the majority of the country's population and are most of our spectrum value. IOUs are an ideal fit to our business model, seeking customers with large geographical footprints, having strong credit, and a desire and ability to deploy the significant capital necessary to build these private networks. To date, we've signed contracts with 7 utility customers totaling over $375 million in proceeds. Our current customers include Ameren, San Diego Gas and Electric, Xcel Energy, Evergy, Lower Colorado River Authority, Tampa Electric Company, and Encore. The structure of our deals range from 4 being 20 to 30-year leases and 3 being sales. The sizes of our deals have ranged from $30 million to greater than $100 million contracts. And all of our leases have the ability to be renewed once they reach the end of the term. Due to the prepaid nature of our customers, we receive a large portion of payments related to our contracts up front, providing us with ample means and opportunities to provide ongoing value back to our shareholders. Of the $375 million we've contracted, we've collected roughly $200 million, with the remaining $175 million to be paid over the next few years, with roughly half of that to be paid in our next fiscal year, which begins on April 1st, 2025. A few key items related to our financial model and value proposition include the fact that we are fully funded with about $52 million of cash on our balance sheet as of June 30, 2024, and roughly $175 million, as I've said, due from contracts already signed, with about $100 million to be received our next fiscal year. We are debt-free and have a low CapEx business model. We view our cash expenses as a bell curve and believe that over the next 18 months, we are at that peak of the curve, and we will continue to penetrate the market. We will be able to pull off costs. Our operating expenses are about $45 million a year presently. We have sizable federal NOLs of about $312 million as of June 30th, providing us the ability to not be a federal taxpayer for quite some time. We also have a robust $250 million share repurchase program in place, which is a testament to our healthy balance sheet and confidence in our ability to execute on our key initiatives. We believe that at current share prices, the use of capital to repurchase shares is accretive to shareholders. Before I wrap up, I do want to point out the supporting ecosystem of device solutions and technology partners that are an extension of our core Anterix team. The Anterix Active ecosystem serves as the foundation for private networks for our nation's utilities and is presently made up of more than 115 world-class organizations. Together with us, AAE members are shaping a device, service, and solution ecosystem that supports and addresses the current and future needs of utilities and other critical infrastructure entities. These entities also have a vested interest in seeing us succeed with the benefits of economies of scale for our customers and in selling services and solutions on 900 megahertz networks for the ecosystem. This translates to reduced marketing costs for us at the end of the day. With that, I'll conclude today's presentation and open up the discussion for questions.
Thanks, Tim. Great, insightful presentation. Let's start off the questions. I don't know if you could give us a little more detail about the company's asset base, the service it provides, and how you define the company's market opportunity.
Sure. Yeah. So as I said, we've got our core asset is our 900 megahertz spectrum. We've got today 6 megahertz. We're undergoing an FCC process right now to try to expand that to up to 10 megahertz with a 5x5 in the future, hopefully. And so with that asset, we're able to provide spectrum to utilities so that they can put private wireless broadband networks in place. We've got 7 customers that are already doing so. Several of them have already built out much of their networks and are already using them on multiple different use cases. And these use cases include a variety of things that utilities are mainly focused on, i.e., the amount of devices now that are being put on these networks is multiplying, not just by tens, but by hundreds and thousands across their networks. And they've got to be able to manage all of the data now that's flowing through these networks as things like power generation changes. Used to be that you'd have one plant that would send out power one way, your coal or natural gas plant or whatever you might have. But today now, power is being generated everywhere. You've got wind farms all over the place. You've got solar panels on roofs. So the amount of devices, again, that have to go up to measure what's happening across these networks is really exploding. And so that's just one case that's out there of the need for broader, better communication systems than what's in place today, be able to manage all that data real time. And so that's very important for these utilities to be able to do. And again, I've just scratched the surface on one use case, and there are multiples of others that utilities are focused on that I could spend 2 days on talking about. But we're excited to be able to go in and talk to those potential customers about what they can do, what other customers are doing, and then point them to our active ecosystem where we've got those device makers. The broader infrastructure folks already in place there that can come in and talk to them right away about what the benefits of their products could be on a 900 megahertz broadband network.
Great. And now you mentioned it in the presentation that you specifically target investor-owned utilities. What's unique about this group versus other potential customers, and specifically what solution are you helping them solve?
Yeah, I mean, the investor-owned utilities are incented to spend capital at the end of the day to drive the rate of return to the regulated entities, and so that enables us to be able to really just be a spectrum provider. And so once we provide them with that spectrum, they're going to be the ones that are going to go through the process of building out their networks and spending the capital to do that, which is a rather extensive amount. These are large projects that get run through kind of that regulatory process, and they get a rate of return on that. And so that enables us to have a very healthy balance sheet by not having to go out and raise capital to spend it on things like cell sites, et cetera, that are needed in a wireless network. So that combined with the ability and the desire to capitalize the leases that they do with us, which means that they'll be paying us upfront. And so we're able to receive, within the first 3 to 4 years of a, say, 20-year lease, all of the cash payments that we would have gotten over the term of that lease. And so that, again, makes our balance sheet very healthy and has enabled us to do things like our very large $250 million buyback program that we're super excited to be executing on. And so that's the type of thing that the IOUs provide to us and also that's where really the spectrum value is. But we've also seen a very distinct need that 7 utilities have already jumped on, and we're talking to multiple others about what they need to do in the future and how this is going to enable them to really do things like modernize the grid.
Okay. Now I know early days, but I know you probably get this question, so I'll ask it. Can your solutions be applicable to other verticals outside of the utility space?
Absolutely, yes, they can. And we've had discussions with natural gas folks, with water folks. I think a lot of the main interest to date has come from the kind of investor-owned utilities that that provide the electricity. One of our customers that we've gotten, which is LCRA, Lower Colorado River Authority, they manage, part of what their mandate is to manage the Colorado River in the state of Texas. And they do, a lot of water management use cases are a part of what they're going to be doing on the network that they're going to be putting in place. And so there's already use cases that some, our current customers are already putting in place using, are outside of kind of the standard electricity focus that we've had. And we'll maybe see some other opportunities outside of the IOUs. I'd also like to note that we did recently, over the past few months, announce a agreement with the NRTC, which supports rural electricity co-ops around the country. Sorry, get that one out. Around the country to be able to provide broadband networks to these co-ops. And so that's going to be a sales channel for us, going out and working with these smaller rural providers. And we definitely see some opportunity there. Not necessarily material to our overall addressable market, but we'll continue to add to the platform of more and more utilities across the United States using 900 megahertz as really the standard for broadband communications for utilities in the country.
Okay. Now, earlier this year, Anterix, along with other industry participants, filed a petition with the FCC seeking the adoption of an expanded 5x5 pair within the 900 megahertz band. If approved, what does this mean for the company and the industry, and any update on timing?
Great, good question. So as we've learned through previous FCC processes, there's really no set clock at the FCC. So we don't know the exact timing to which this could get done. Although I would say we feel pleased about the progress that's taken place. We, along with multiple other people in the industry, including several IOUs, made this application to the FCC. So this is not just an Anterix thing. This is multiple entities that see a future need for additional spectrum to be put in place so that there's additional capacity over time. All the data curves forever have always been wrong, but understanding the amount of data that's going to flow through wireless networks over time. We've seen that on the consumer side. And I think utilities see that as they look into the distant future. These people plan for 20, 30-year, 50-year time horizons. And so, they understand the power that these networks are going to have and what that's going to enable, and that they'll have, there'll be some potential needs for additional capacity out in the distant future. Although today, keep in mind that 6 megahertz is more than enough for the use cases that have been discussed with us from our utility partners. It's just everybody has that vision of what's going to happen with these data curves. We're excited that at the FCC, the process has gone through at least one round of public comments. There were good responses, very, very supportive. Very little, almost nothing on the negative side. With people supporting the effort to move forward. There were some questions that we would have expected from some people within the band who want to understand how this would work. And we'll continue to work with them and the FCC to move the process forward. And hopefully, this will move forward over the next 12 to 18 months, but or if not sooner. But again, it's hard to predict the exact timing.
Okay, thanks for that update. Now, a few weeks back, the company announced its 7th and largest deal to date, a $102 million agreement with Encore. What else can you share with us on this deal in terms of use cases, payment terms, et cetera?
Yeah, so it's, again, $102 million deal. They paid $10 million up front. They're going to be paying basically the remainder over roughly the next 18 months. So, in a 2.5-year time frame from getting the deal done, actually 2 years, we're going to collect all $100 million or $102.5 million. So again, very financially beneficial to us with the cash flow that we've got coming in. And so that's what the payment terms look like. Keep in mind that Encore is right next to and borders Lower Colorado River Authority, or LCRA. And so they really moved forward once they saw LCRA move forward, and know that the two entities are going to be able to work together because of things like cross-border sharing and things like that of networks. And so we're really excited to see that relationship develop and be driven by customers, because there'll be other utilities across the country who are going to also be asking questions about how can we work together with other entities that are sharing the same spectrum right next to us. So that'll provide a really good example to future customers who have those types of questions as we work through the sales process with them. I think Encore already has a very significant system for land mobile radio at 900 megahertz that they're going to expand with new technologies. And in addition to some of the things I've talked about, being able to put additional devices on their network that they don't have the capabilities to do so today.
Okay. Now, how do we think about the value of this spectrum on a megahertz per pop basis? And how does this stack up versus comps from recent auctions?
Yeah, so when you look at the deals that we've done to date, we've gotten good premiums to the 600 megahertz auction in every one of the transactions that we've done to date. So we feel good that we've continued to drive fair market value for the spectrum, not tied to an auction number, but as spectrum continues to grow in value, not only looking at those previous auctions, but with private transactions that have taken place then, that are even doubling the amount that people have been willing to pay for 600 megahertz auction from the auction price to today. And so we're reflecting all of that into pricing as we look forward into additional deals moving forward, which, because everybody knows that the value of spectrum goes up every day. As more and more of it gets used, as you put more and more devices on it, and use cases continue to grow. And it's a finite resource that doesn't grow. And the FCC has really allocated a great majority of it out throughout the country. So it's a process that will continue to grow for us as we develop more and more customers and develop our platform to get more and more on it and start to see more and more use cases in place that we're really benefiting also as well from using the Anterix active ecosystem to drive additional customers.
Great. Now, given your unique business model of monetizing spectrum, what are you seeing from a competitive perspective? Who are the other players in the spectrum space? And why do utility customers prefer to work with you versus the field? And why haven't the big three wireless carriers targeted this space?
Yeah, and I would say, we got approval for our spectrum to be used for broadband in May of 2020. So it's been just about 4.5 years since we've had that approval. And I must say we've really spent that time building out a marketplace here, to work with utilities so that they could understand the needs and how this could help solve those needs. And so that development and really becoming seen as a partner has become very important for Anterix. To help move things forward here. Again, I've talked about our active ecosystem. We developed the Utility Broadband Alliance to allow customers to come in and talk about their broadband journeys that they're on, even if they're not customers yet. And so we put that in place. We've also got an advisory board that's got roughly 10 different utility C-suite members that come in and talk about their needs as they move forward. Some of them are not even customers yet. So these are all things that we've put in place to really build and drive a market to be seen as a partner as we try to develop 900 megahertz as a standard for utilities across the country. That doesn't mean there aren't competitors talking to different utilities about different things. The carriers have kind of been in and out of the space, have touched it a little bit. But again, because of the operational and financial incentives that the utilities have to really command and control their own networks and to spend CapEx, which they may or may not be able to do on the carrier side. That's one of the core reasons why they've come to someone like Anterix who can really tailor a solution for them so that they can meet particularly their financial needs moving forward. But there's others with spectrum as well. EchoStar / Dish has got a lot of spectrum. We'll see how that plays out. We really haven't seen them in this space. And so, we feel good about the work we've done to build this marketplace and be seen as a leader and a partner here.
Now, the company has moved away from formal guidance, replacing it with its demonstrated intent scorecard instead. Can you talk a bit about what drove the need for the scorecard, how it works, and how the team uses it internally?
Yeah, so demonstrated intent really is a way for us to talk about the journey that customers are on. Some of these are things that take place in public, whether it's joining a board or talking in a forum. Other things we know about that are more on a confidential basis, like RFPs, we're in negotiations with someone, things like that they're doing on their journey to get there. But it's really all things that our professional sales force is going through to make sure that things are in place at the utility and moving forward to end to kind of drive a journey where they're going to end up being a customer of ours and driving forward to build out a private wireless network. These are things like making sure that there are executive sponsors, making sure there are budgets, things like that we can help support throughout the journey. And it's not any one that is totally indicative that they're going to move forward. And even if they were to check, say, all 20 of these boxes that we've got, it's not a guarantee that they're going to move forward with us, but it's a very strong indicator of that interest that they've got, that they are going to go forward and do something. You don't see a lot of people talking publicly about what they're going to do in their plans unless they're actually going to do it. So again, it's not a guarantee of anything, but it's a way for us to kind of quantify the amount of customers, quantify the dollars. Got about 18 customers and a little over $1 billion in that bucket today. Of customers that have come a long way on the journey. This is a very long sales cycle. Doesn't happen overnight. And so, it's important that we monitor the statistics and give investors as much insight as we can.
Okay, thank you for that. I think you mentioned you're running about 45 million of operating expenses. How should investors think about the cash costs needed to run this business going forward? Do you anticipate any significant changes over the next few years?
Yeah, and as I said in the presentation, so this year, we'll spend about $45 million on OpEx from a cash perspective, and about $20 million to clear incumbents out of the band. We've done a great job on the clearing side. We're about 70% of the way done, and we expect the clearing costs, again, which will be about $20 million this year and next year, to really, almost die off after our fiscal 26. So, we're getting to the end of that spend. And as I've said, I look at our expense base as kind of a bell curve, that as we get greater and greater penetration over the next few years, we'll be able to begin to peel off costs and lower that cost basis on a go forward basis. So, I think we're in a good place from a spend perspective at this point in time. But it's also fortunate to know that we'll be able to lower our expense base moving forward.
Okay. Now you mentioned the share repurchase program. I was wondering if you could give us a little more color on that. Is that a formalized program? Is it opportunistic? And what is the company's goals with the share repurchase program?
Yeah, so we've got a $250 million program in place that we are going to opportunistically be out in the marketplace buying back shares. And it's going to be a little bit lumpy. I've said this before, really kind of tied to when we're getting customer payments coming in, when we've got excess cash flow, and when we can put it back out into the markets. So some quarters will be higher than others. Some quarters will be pretty low from a spend, just kind of depending on how those cash inflows are coming in. And look, I feel right now that the stock is undervalued, and it's one of the right things for us to do, from a shareholder and kind of an accretive perspective, to be out in the market buying back shares. And so, that's just one of the benefits that we get from having this prepaid nature of the customers and being able to do that.
Great. Well, Tim, we've come to the end of our allotted time. We appreciate you taking the time to participate in our conference, and we wish you and the company the best in the future. Thanks again.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate time.
What's up? It is Damon John from ABC Shark Tank, the #1 shark in the tank. However, I'm going to be joined by my fellow sharks, Robert Hershevek, and not so wonderful, I'm just joking, Mr. Wonderful, for Noble Capital Markets 20th Emerging Growth Equity Conference on December 4th in Boca Raton, Florida. I can't wait to see you there. Peace.